Hey guys. So today we're just going to go over the intro to visual rhetoric assignment that you have to do, and we're going to be looking at just two of the four examples. So we'll do the first one, I Want You for US Army, the Uncle Sam poster, and then we'll do one of the modern ones, the McDonald's one. So for the Uncle Sam, the first few questions about the rhetorical situation. What is the exigence, the context, the audience, and the purpose? So for exigence, what's the situation or event that motivated the author to create the ad? For this Uncle Sam ad, if you looked up any information about it, it was published during wartime. Right? It was used in the United States for the Revolutionary War, for World War One, World War Two. So it was used multiple times. So we can say what motivated or what initiated the author to create or publish the ad. We can say that posters were published during wartime when more soldiers were needed for the U.S. Army. So that would be the exigence. I will bold it. And then for the context, what was the specific situation? It's what I just mentioned. A poster was used during the American Revolution, World War One, World War Two, to encourage people to join the army. The U.S. needed more troops to fight in the war, which is why they posted these ads to encourage people to fight. So who is the target audience? So when we think back to uh, the American Revolution, World War One, World War Two, during those time periods, they mainly were targeting men, or they were only targeting men to join the war. Women couldn't join the army back then, and they were targeting younger men. Right? They're not looking for an 80-year-old or 50-year-old. They're looking for young, able-bodied men. So young adult, and obviously they have to be old enough to of legal recruiting age. So young adults, able-bodied, and bodied males. So that was a specific audience. It's not all Americans. It's a specific subset. So young adult, able-bodied uh, males. And the purpose. So the purpose is to convince the audience that their participation in the war is valued and necessary, right? So that if you look at the composition, and we'll talk about the visuals and the language in a second, but the purpose of the ad is to target each individual person, right? And to say that their participation in the army is important, it's valued, and it's needed. They need the U.S. Army needs you, specifically young able-bodied males. So that's the purpose, to convince the audience of this fact that they're valued and necessary. So let's look at some of the specifics of the image. One of the first things that probably stood out to you was the color scheme. It uses primarily red, white, and blue, some black in the text, but mainly red, white, and blue. So we'll bullet point each of these things. So identify specifics of the image that contribute to developing an effective purpose. So this is the purpose. So I'll just write color scheme of red, white, and blue. And why is this effective? It gives a patriotic tone, right? It helps establish a patriotic tone. Another thing you probably noticed right away is the character, right? This Uncle Sam character is an older gentleman. See the white hair. So I'll write older man as Sam. And why use an older man to be the one that's trying to recruit you? Well, it shows that the older man is experienced, that they've gone through, they might, this individual possibly has gone through war himself and is saying it's now your turn to do what's best for the country. It also gives a sense, it gives the character an authoritative presence that they can command or demand your participation. And it's his serious face, right, that reflects a serious tone. So we can identify all those things. He's experienced, one who has been to war and served his time, possibly. And then now it's saying it's your turn. Knows, because of his experience, he knows what is best for the country, and knows that you are needed. Another aspect we mentioned is he's authoritative. Can urge and demand that you join or strongly suggest. And then he's serious. It gives a serious tone. And this reflects the seriousness of the situation. So, and then one other obvious, iconic aspect of this is him pointing the finger directly at the audience. So, pointing gesture. And then how does this convince the audience? Well, when we go back to the idea of being valued and necessary, pointing the finger directly at you makes the ad more individualized. That he's not just asking everyone, all young adult able-bodied males, which he is, but when you look at the ad, it makes you feel like he's pointing directly at you, the individual. So you can say that makes the audience feel they are individually, individually, specifically addressed, and gives a sense of responsibility, uh, that they are needed to fight the war. Oops. Okay, spelled that right. Yeah, so those are some of the key visual aspects: the color scheme, the use of an older gentleman as the character, and then his gesture, which is pointing his finger directly at you. Now let's look at the language. Let's see. So the specific language, something that you might have noticed right away, is the font and color of "you." How that stands out. I want you for U.S. Army, nearest recruiting station. So why is the "you" singled out? And it goes with what we talked about with how he's pointing the finger directly at the audience. It helps to establish that sense of individuality, and that the ad is targeting you specifically as a person, not a general group of people. So we can say the "you" is in red to emphasize the audience as an individual is needed, affirms the individualized targeted ad. And another aspect of this is the grammar. If you look at the grammar, I want you for U.S. Army, nearest recruiting station. Right? That's not an actual full sentence. It's missing some other words. If you want this to be a grammatically correct sentence, it would say, I want you for the U.S. Army. You can join at the nearest recruiting station. That would be a full sentence, but it only uses these partial phrases. And it seems, why would they use a seemingly grammatically incorrect phrase? I want you for U.S. Army, nearest recruiting station. Well, if you read that, it gives a sense of urgency, right? They remove some of the less important words to get to the key point. It's like they're sending a letter or a telegram or calling and just giving you the important pieces of information, right? So it gives a sense of urgency that this needs to happen right away. I want you for U.S. Army, nearest recruiting station. So the grammar, the missing words gives a sense of urgency. There's no time for filler words, and the audience needs to volunteer ASAP. Right, so that's how the language and the visuals help support or help develop this purpose, which is to convince the audience that their participation is valued and necessary. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Obviously, your answers are going to be a little different, but this should be the gist. And even for the visuals and words, if you didn't pick up on all of these things, that's okay. All right, so let's look at the modern example, McDonald's. Okay, so what is the situation that motivated the author to create this ad? Well, the obvious one is just to sell. I'll bold this. To sell more food, but it's also, this, we all know what the symbol is, the Wi-Fi symbol. It's to communicate and communicate the new tech featured at their restaurants. So I know Wi-Fi isn't new to us now. It's been a while, but when this ad initially came out, it was something new. So we can explain that context. Right? That Wi-Fi was a new feature that was around 2010 and beyond, around then, that would interest customers since it was not standard. It was not standard at all restaurants. Right, so there, McDonald's is touting this new feature that maybe some other chain restaurants did not have at the time. So that's the context. Who is the target audience? Well, if you look at this ad, if you've never heard of McDonald's, this would be a pretty ineffective ad. You wouldn't really know what's going on. You would notice that, okay, these are French fries. I see this, but you wouldn't really understand. So it's targeting people familiar with McDonald's, which is most people. But also with the Wi-Fi, it's targeting those people that would actually use Wi-Fi. Right? Those that would use Wi-Fi at McDonald's, which would be younger people, uh, business people, uh, and yeah, so it's be targeting younger people and business people. So that would be the target audience. And then the purpose of the ad. So the purpose is to is to get you into their store and to buy the product, right? So to persuade the audience to buy McDonald's and or eat at their restaurants, right? To go in and actually eat at the restaurants. Okay, so now let's look at the last two questions about the images and the language. So for images, right, there's not too much there, but the main one obviously is the Wi-Fi symbol using French fries. So why use French fries for the Wi-Fi symbol? One, it makes people crave their French fries, right? Their fries are iconic, and it also informs the audience the Wi-Fi feature of the restaurant. So the Wi-Fi symbol using fries. This makes people crave their fries and informs them of their new Wi-Fi feature. Okay. And there's not too much else here. The color scheme is important. So color scheme, right? If you're familiar with McDonald's, you know the golden and red color scheme, right? This is iconic of McDonald's. So those familiar with McDonald's will know the red and gold represents their company. Right, so it's some brand recognition. Um, that's about it. You can also say it's simplistic, right? So the simplicity is actually important. That's one other key thing. So why make some why make it simplistic? You've seen other McDonald's ads which may be more colorful, more detailed, have other things going on, but this one is very simple, and it leverages their popularity, right? Since people know McDonald's, they don't actually have to do too much to explain what their company sells or what they do. And so this allows them to create these simple ads so that if you're passing by quickly, you can pick up the message very quickly and you don't have to stand examining what the message is. So that's another aspect of the image, the simplicity of it.